Well, as I get suited up, we are back in the kitchen, and one thing we love and we aren't afraid to share is this next classic recipe.
There is a classic mayonnaise that brings out the traditional French in 3 levels of tanginess. The mild classic, the medium classic, the strong classic. Tangy the way you love it.
Made with love by Clover.
Sausage rolls, baby, we love them. They are the quintessential snack for those in-between moments and are guaranteed to make an appearance at every family gathering. They're just so easy to eat, and we love them, bang full of flavor. And what makes our unique recipe so good is the use of a not-so-secret ingredient, Clover Creamel. We've used it in the most ingenious ways, and our chef, Chumi, is going to show us how this all comes together. My little ones love sausage rolls.
I know exactly what you mean.
There's just something, and it's a go-to. So, like, for me, cut up cucumber, sausage rolls, and my boy will just chow it all.
And it's
he
a perfect inclusion in a canteen, you know, if you're making lunch for them for school. It's perfect because you cut it up into these beautiful bite-sized portions. And
delicious, and now we're going to take the deliciousness to a whole different level. Okay, so show me the ways.
I will show you the way.
How do I make a sausage roll?
Simple. We're using beef. As normal, a sausage roll is always made with beef. If you want to zhuzh it up, I mean, you could always use chicken mince as well. You could use pork mince. It's completely up to you.
Mince is the vibe.
We're
you
keeping
need
it
a nice minced protein.
OG.
Cool.
And then we're going to add a bit of seasoning, which is always important because this is the only time you get to season it. So it's important at this point to make sure that you've added as much of that flavor that you need in it.
Okay.
And I'm going to start with a generous, in fact, I'm going to pour a little bit more of this because you don't want it to be bland because this is where the flavor is. A bit of salt.
It's a meal and a bite.
It is.
You've got to remember that every bite is you've got to have the whole picture done and dusted.
And the last thing you want is to bite into one portion of it that tastes really good, flavorful, and then you take another bite and
these are gourmet.
It tastes like sandpaper. We're adding a bit of dried herbs and there's some garlic. I'm also adding a bit of spring onion. That, as you always know, onion has a bit of a sweeter taste. So just a touch of that sweetness would make a huge difference here. And then into that, a generous serving there of some Worcestershire sauce. You could also use balsamic. You could also use a bit of vinegar.
Like soy, maybe even?
You could also use soy. So what we're trying to do is just balance that salty sweetness, you know, tanginess with the vinegar and all of that. So now we're going to come to the creamy part.
Yeah, that's
nice and
so
balanced. Basically binding all of this together. That's where our creamel
comes in. I mean, we've used this for a coffee creamer. Man, it punches way above its weight class. We've used it in so many awesome baking, and now I can't believe we're using it in a savory, because I actually thought you would use it in the pastry. But the fact that we're using it as a binding agent to make a delicious, beautiful filling, that is amazing. I think adding creamel to the mince mixture is genius. It's going to ensure the mince filling does not dry out as it cooks as well, which is brilliant because you don't want to dry there, as it's sandpapery sausage roll. And if you plan to freeze a batch of these sausage rolls to cook a little bit later, which you can do at this stage before you've actually put them into the oven, the filling will still have a creamy, moist taste. Absolutely brilliant. Clover Creamel is the only creamer with real milk powder for that creamier taste. And I think this is absolute genius.
And we spoke about versatility, which is what I love about the creamel, because yes, we've used it in savory, in baked dishes, we've used it in tea and coffee, but now we're putting it into our sausage rolls.
Brilliant.
So to start it off, sir, I'm going to get started with cutting our pastry. Are we using puff pastry?
I was going to ask. Okay, so puff, because you want it to be quite light and flaky, the pastry. It needs to kind of have those layers to it.
Yeah, and then to start it off, in fact, let me do this. I'm going to try and pile up a nice little layer, a nice little, how do they put it, a light baton. A baton?
Yes,
a nice little layer of this, and make a nice little line across, what's that, assembly line? And make sure I make it as full as possible, because the last thing you want is to make your sausage roll and there's air pockets. And
no. It must be
nice, exactly, nice and filled up all the way to the ends. I know most people like to leave the ends not filled. I don't get that.
Oh, it's quite nice to have a bit of a crispy pastry part, like a corner to dunk in, like my boy. Unfortunately, the sausage roll then becomes completely shrouded in tomato sauce because he just loves the Woolies organic tomato sauce is go-to.
It's his favourite. And that's
Ooh,
it.
look at
So,
that,
and the
eh?
other thing I love as well about the puff pastry is that it's nice and soft, so you don't have to worry about the pockets there. You just make sure you roll it up, and then the bottom part.
It fills the
Yes.
roll. Okay.
So the seam at the very end is the one at the underneath. You make sure it's underneath so that it stays in its place.
Keeps it shut.
And then we
Cool.
start cutting these little pieces. Those are going to go into our air fryer to bake at 180 degrees for 20 minutes.
Wow.
Simple. You can actually brush those with a little bit of egg wash and
I'm
put
gonna
some
do that
sesame
right
seeds
now.
in there. And that is it's a beautiful, easy, simple dish. Get the kids involved. Simple midweek dinner, simple anytime snack. It's perfect for anyone.
I love that. I don't know why I thought like you needed like 20 people and, you know, magic Charlie and the Chocolate Factory thing to make mince rolls, because it just, I've always thought there's just so much going into it, but it's the layers of flavor for me that I think are going to make this, and then just a little bit of...
And there you go.
That's so clever.
That already looks like a masterpiece, Graham. Well done.
Yeah, man. I think it's all you. Then the big conundrum is, what do you do with this last little piece of... Do you make one? I don't know. I don't know. It's up to you. You can get crazy. This is beautiful. And, of course, it's going to be creamy. And I love the fact that at this phase, you can freeze them and you're going to still have that beautiful, moist, creamy center when you take them out, defrost, and cook them. And, of course, we're doing it all in the air fryer in 20 minutes, as Tumi said. Absolutely brilliant. You can find this on expressoshow.com.
Made with love by Clover.